the Countryside Podcasts with Chris Skinner.
Sounds of summer. It really is high summer now. Beautiful blue skies. It's warm at 10 o'clock in the morning. And the smell of newly cut hay, Chris.
Matthew, yes, a lot of people would be sneezing, and once the hay's cut, it releases a kind of a aroma which tells me exactly what the time of year it is. And we've got the longest day for this Sunday, the 21st of June. So it's the beginning of the hay cutting season here at the farm. But I thought we'd just stop by the farm lake here. It's 1,000 square metres of water, and just enjoy the sight. It sort of calms you down. I can see a common damselfly out in the middle there, iridescent blue. There's some dragonflies flying past. That's a broad-bodied one. They're hawkers. Oh, look, and over here, the top of the water surface is just alive with them. And they're enjoying this heat. This is their time of the year. They're kind of celebrating, as you would, because many of the dragonfly species spend 2 or even 3 years underwater on the bottom of this lake. The centre of the pond's about 2 metres deep, and the edges are only just a few inches of water all the way around the edge, so very shallow edged. And the female dragonflies will be dipping their posterior into the vegetation, some of the lilies out on the lake there, and laying eggs, and some just fly over the top and drop their eggs, and you can see the abdomen just dropping down into the water, and that's what they're doing. Now, there's something special happens at this time of the year. I brought you here, I think, in probably early April, and we visited the frogs and the toad spawn, and they've all hatched out, and more or less now, towards the middle of June, towards the end of June, all the young froglets leave the water almost simultaneously, almost on a day or two, and so they've left this, and you can see there's a lot of vegetation all the way around this area of water, and that's a perfect habitat for them. Remember, frogs and toads are amphibians. They spend just part of their life in water and the remainder of their life on land, which surprises everybody. And a band of damselfly. Look at that.
Look at that, with more fluttery wings than the others.
And you can actually see the band of black across the wings. It shows out really clearly. But this is the time of the year. Now the frogs and toads, the young ones, have all left this aquatic situation, that the fish spawn, and there's a lot of fish in here, thousands of roach and rudd in particular, and they love this warm weather. They love sunbathing. So,
bit like your faithful hound.
Look at him over there. Have you ever seen anything like it?
Skinner is sunbathing.
He's stretched out, completely oblivious to everything going on around him, and fast asleep in about 5 minutes. What a useless piece of terrier is that? Just come over here, Matthew, because this is really interesting. Now, if we are very careful and just move slowly towards the water's edge, and you look down into the shallow water, you'll see lots of little dark shadows.
Oh, yes, they do look like like tadpoles.
Yes, but they're not tadpoles. That's fry. The sort of eggs that are laid by the fish species here, because of the warm weather, have now hatched out. And this is the next generation, and there are tens of thousands of fry in this pond. Absolutely amazing. So the fish would have spawned perhaps early April. The males release the sperm, and then the eggs are sort of laid in the vegetation around the edge of the pond, the aquatic vegetation this is, or in the weeds growing on the bottom. They then hatch out, and they're then called fry. They're about a centimetre, just over. There, you're getting a good view now. The sun is on them. And if we just walk down to the edge now, without you slipping in, because it's quite steep. I think it's okay just there. You stand there, you'll get a better view of them. Here they are. And
I spooked them.
yeah, yes, they've all moved very rapidly because they think you're a heron or a kingfisher. So they kind of act as one, and the whole place, all the way around the periphery of the pond or lake, is swarming with those tiny fish. So these particular ones we're looking at, under an inch long, and what you're looking at is the shadow of them on the bottom of the pond. Now, they're almost transparent, like the eggs that were laid. They're just pale yellow, and you can actually see completely through the eggs once they're fertilised. Absolutely amazing. Now, rudd are members of the carp family, and we don't often talk about fish or on aquatic species on the farm. Well, we've done the frogs and the toads, obviously, but because there's not many water habitats here at the farm, the best place would be to go to Broadland or any of the river systems around here, where you will find rudd. You will also find roach. Rudd are quite distinguished fish. They've got kind of deep red fins. Their name has nothing to do with rudder. It's really more to do with the colour of the fins themselves, sort of that ruddy red colour. And I think there was one of the early anglers wrote about them, and he used rather a derogatory term to describe rudd, and he called them bastard roach. I don't know how he came up with that term, but I've always remembered that right from my early days of fishing. But they grow to about up to a kilo, so up to 2 pounds in weight, a mature rudd, and they're really lovely fish to see. Their dorsal fins quite near the tail end of the fish, whereas with a roach it would be about halfway down. The rat has decided to wake up and sort of bark at something. Anyway, you can actually see the shadows of them on the bottom, but with the sun shining on them, you can't actually see them. They're almost invisible. But the shadow gives the game away.
They're quite near the surface, actually, aren't they?
So the warmer, the better, and they'll congregate in quite large numbers. And if they do get spooked, as you described it, they will move as one, and the water kind of almost boils with them. I just remember this from my childhood, fishing near the River Tass, and there would be tens of thousands of minnows on the edge of the river itself, in areas where the water wasn't flowing very quickly. It would be shallow and very warm. Oh, more just coming in. Here comes another little shoal just coming in towards the edge here, and you just had swallows flying over the top there, just scooping. Oh, that's the house martin. There.
Oh,
there we are, coming in, very distinctive white rump, and a whole flock of swallows and martins are just coming in for a drink and going round and then flying into the slightest breeze, dipping down and taking a scoopful. And there's a dragonfly, our largest species. Look, she's laying eggs.
Yes.
Can you see the abdomen?
Abdomen's down in the water there.
Going down.
In the
and
weeds.
I've watched them, and sometimes they completely submerge themselves. The whole dragonfly disappears as an adult under the water, and they curl themselves right round and lay the eggs on the underside of the leaves of the vegetation. That one had to be careful because the rudd just came up near the surface. Rudd and roach are quite distinctive as well. They don't have any teeth in their mouth. They have a pair of sort of teeth right down the throat, but generally they'll eat vegetation and chew it with these sort of throat teeth a long way down. But they're really lovely to see, very, very attractive fish, and we're not being treated to any of the adults, quite simply because There's kingfishers here, there are cormorants, regular visitor. We've got a little grebe nesting, and that will take small fish as well. That's
These are the
nesting.
dab chicks.
Yes, the dab chick.
Which we spotted a few weeks ago there.
I've been filming her, and the male's very sort of secretive, but she comes off the nest a couple of times a day. She's in the vegetation about 10 yards from where we're standing, and the nest is in water, but it's sort of semi-submerged there. And she, when I visit here early in the morning, if she's at all worried and she's out on the lake in the centre there, she submerges herself with just her head above the water. An amazing sight.
Periscope.
Yes, that periscope. It looks like the Loch Ness Monster. Although she's only tiny, she's no bigger than a large duckling. So it's lovely to have those here. And I've just been watching those dragonflies laying their eggs. And sort of curling their abdomen round. It's a really lovely sight. So you can see it's just a cracking way to start the day, just to visit here.
There's so much life going on
There
around
is,
here,
yeah.
isn't there?
Every time you move your hand like that, the water beneath us boils, and the fish get a little bit alarmed. But they're just in the warm water, because the water near the edge of the pond is warmed by the sun, and we've got a little clear patch in front of us, so you can see them silhouetted really nicely against the ground there.
I thought I could hear a moorhen.
Yes, there are. There's some here with some chicks here as well.
Some very lazy-looking ducks
Yes,
enjoying the weather.
The mallard here, they're kind of stuck here now because something happens at this time of the year, which is a little bit embarrassing for them. The ducks, the female ducks, are usually fully busy with this year's broods, and now collectively the male, the duck and the drake, they molt, but they molt in such a severe way as that they lose their primary wing feathers. So in the long and the short of it is they can't fly. So at the farm duck pond, we're stuck with about 50 to 60 drake mallards that are now losing their lovely bottle green heads, and they're changing plumage sort of halfway between the summer or this spring's plumage, that lovely iridescent green, and the wings stripes, and that all drops away now, and they have something called eclipse plumage, which is about a halfway house, and then they start to have the autumn plumage, and so they pair up quite sort of September, October, November time. And they've got that lovely iridescent green, but it is quite embarrassing for them. So they're kind of stuck here. They can't fly off.
I can think of worse places to be stuck.
Yeah, exactly, because the water's warm, and they'll get on and get the new feathers. So quite soon, about another fortnight's time, they should be able to fly again. But those fish are stunning down there, and we've got dragonflies just skirting around our ankles now.
There's one laying.
Yeah, look. Yeah, that's our largest species. That's the emperor dragonfly. Female is green, and she's just hovering her wings, and she's on one patch of weeds. Her abdomen's curled right round underneath, and it's almost come back up underneath her as though it was a sting. But she's actually depositing her eggs.
Meanwhile, thousands of damselflies.
Yeah, look at them.
Everywhere, wherever you look, all over, just inches
that's-
above the water.
That's just lovely. And this, water habitat is one of the fastest to attract wildlife, even a small area in your garden. I mean, this is quite large scale. I'm watching another female over the other side there. She's doing exactly the same, depositing as many eggs as she can in these ideal conditions. They then hatch out and form these nymphs, which will attack my tadpoles as well. So you start to have this balance, because you sort of can fall in love with all forms of nature, but when one form starts to eat the other, you do have to stand back and smile sometimes. But oh, look over there, perfect,
Yes.
absolutely perfect. She's dropping her eggs in the water.
She's like at a right angle there, isn't she?
She is.
And the damselflies come over to see what's going on.
And they're sort of sunbathing on the vegetation at the side here. Really beautiful sight. Look at that.
Your dog is doing a lap of the lake, by the way, but
He's
not in it.
not drinking it, you understand. He's just touring round, and we'll call him, and we'll go and see if we can find Neil doing some hay turning.
Oh, thanks for showing me this.
Look, it's just the water's just boiled. It's not hot, but it's just the fish getting out of the way of a gudgeon.
I bet you caught a few of those in your time.
I have done.
Wow, Chris, look at that, the sky above those trees.
Matthew, that is a swarm of bees. And I can hear them from here.
It's a constant buzz. We're standing at a respectful distance, but it does look like one of those 1980s horror pictures. I think there was one called The Swarm.
Wow. So what's happened is we're quite near some beehives, about 50, 60 yards away. It's a hot day, and the old queen has decided to desert the hive, and there'll be some young queens in their hive, which are just coming out of the cell. You only have one queen in a colony, and then that young queen will fly off and get mated with drones, hopefully, and the old queen will start up a new colony somewhere. So the bees are following her, and then they'll settle and form, which they're beginning to do. I think we can go a bit closer.
Famous last words.
They're usually in holiday mood, so that's one good piece of news. They'll all have filled up their honey stomachs.
Rat is chancing his arm. Look, he's under the tree there.
No, that's where we'll be in a minute.
Oh my goodness. Wow, the sky is full of, well, I would say they look angry to me because they're flying very fast.
No, they're not. They're all in holiday mood. If either of us gets stung, I would be really surprised. We're about 12, 15 feet from them. And the noise is incredible. That's one of the absolutely amazing sights of nature and natural history. So she will be there somewhere. They will now form a kind of football around her, and then once it's all settled in, you can gradually see they're getting closer and closer to the tree where she is, and then after it's settled down, bees will fly out from where she is, and they're called scout bees, and they'll be looking for something like a woodpecker hole, an old empty hive, or somewhere suitable for them to start the new colony off with the old queen. And then they start very quickly building new cells. She will lay eggs in those, and that's the foundation of the next colony. But that's a sight for sore eyes, just amazing. Oh, I can just begin to see the actual football forming just on the left-hand branch in there. I think we can go a bit closer. Come on, Gudgin.
My insurance
yes,
paid
there
it.
it is.
Oh, there we are.
Yeah,
Look.
there you are.
Yes, it's forming quite well now.
Yes, it is. And they're only interested in, all those workers will support her. They're all got their tummies full of honey, which they took from the hive that they've left, whichever hive it is. And you're absolutely being spoiled. This was completely by chance. I couldn't plan this, because what we've done is come into an area successional woodland on the farm here, where there's a few bee colonies from local beekeepers. I try and help them, and as a reward I get a little bit of honey given back to me. And what I was hoping to plan to do is to come and visit the conifer trees here and just examine what they're up to. And we can actually go up to the tree now. I feel quite confident, and I'm going to show you what's happened at this time of the year. And with the buzz above our head, I'm very confident that I can explain what's happened, because pine trees come from the northern part of the UK. We also call this particular one the Scots pine, and it does something unusual in May and June and just into July, and it produces all its growth in one quick burst, because northern summers are quite short and fleeting. And I must explain, everybody, Matthew's face is pointing upwards. Come on, Gudgin, pay attention, look, to what I'm doing here. This is this year's growth, and it's nearly a foot long. And then from last year's growth, you will see there will be male catkins coming out of this particular tree, and it will yield huge amounts of pollen. And the female parts of the tree will have little red tips on, and that's the female bit. And then eventually, and this is one of this year's cones here, already forming, quite small, about 1.5 inches long, and that cone will be on this tree for perhaps 3 years. So it takes 3 years to ripen. It's green at the moment, very hard, and you can see some older ones higher up in the tree. Yep, that's one. Excellent, you found one that's dropped off. Now, cones have a special trick, and this one is rock hard, you can see, and it's opened up all the little bracts here, and the seeds have already gone. Now, I might find one if we're lucky. Oh, goodness, yeah, I have. I just pulled one back, and you can see this little paper-like structure just in there. That is a pine seed that will form a new pine tree. Don't keep looking up there at those bees. Look, they've nearly disappeared. They're all in the top of the tree. They're not going to bother about us. They're looking for a new home.
Very attractive things, pine cones.
They absolutely are, aren't they? So these are the bracts, and this is a spent cone. So before this happens, because we've got some hot, dry weather, all these bracts open up on the cones. They've got 4 sides, and they release the seeds. And this area of woodland has all been wind pollinated, because the pollen blows, fertilises the female catkins. And then the next thing is, when these cones open up on hot summer days like we have at the moment, the seeds then drop out, they blow away, and then you have these, they land on the ground if the habitat is right. And it's really unusual to see a self-seeded pine plantation, which this now is.
Basically, you just left this field
Absolutely.
to its own devices.
That sounds as though I'm being lazy, but it's called successional woodland, and it's really, really beautiful. It's as nature intended, and these not like the pine trees that you would see in the regimented rows down at Thetford Chase, planted by the Forestry Commission, which are dark and damp and pretty horrible. These are well spaced out. They've got branches right down at the bottom. So we're about 10 foot away from the trunk, and I've got hold of the branch, and it's down at ground level. So really beautiful. So, yeah, and you get that lovely pine smell as well at this time of the year in the heat of the day. So that's a little bit of the secret of the cones. You can see them hanging all downwards at the moment, and they're all this year's cones going to come. They spend between 3 and even 4 years on the tree before the one you found, which had dropped on the ground, has actually finished its life cycle. But let's just move around a little bit. Are you feeling more confident now in my prediction that you wouldn't get stung?
Oh, wow, look at that. That has grown to big proportion.
Yeah.
Billing and cooing, the pigeons of High Ash Farm. Among the cast of characters that we meet each week.
And I'm the next character that you're likely to meet on the Countryside podcast. And we've got a small favour to ask. There are certain costs involved which we can't avoid. What we're asking for is a small contribution to help the running costs of this podcast.
And you can find all the details on the High Ash Farm website, and you can make a monthly or one-off payment. Everything's gratefully received, and let's keep this marvellous slice of wildlife podcasting going with Chris Skinner and the pigeons.
Why not? Yes, it's absolutely fantastic. Yeah,
That is the ball on one of the branches.
yes.
Do they like the resin that this tree produces?
No, nothing at all to do with that. They're not interested in the resin. They will take a form of resin, particularly from poplar trees, and they will use that if they find a woodpecker hole and the hole's too big. They will cement the front of the hole up, and it's got a special name, this sticky brown material. It's called propolis, and it comes from the Latin. Pro means in front and opolis means city, so it's in front of the city, which relates to their nest. So they've nearly all settled in now, and this would be the time of day when you would get a step ladder and a cardboard box, and you would climb up there. You would give the branch a quick karate chop like that, and the bees would all drop off into the box. You'd put the box at the bottom of the tree. Hopefully you've got the queen in it, and she will think, oh, this is my new home, and that all's well. And I was taught to do it without a veil and gloves on by the beekeeper at the local college, Mr. Fred Riches. But I made a horrendous mistake once because I advertised in a local paper wanted swarms. I was just starting my beekeeping career off, and I got a call from a gentleman on the outskirts of Norwich, somewhere called Cantley. The little village was called Limpenhoe, and he said, I've got a swarm at the end of my garden, you can come and get that damn thing out of the way. So I went over very confident, but one thing he hadn't told me, it had been there a week, and the bees were rather grumpy. I know I ended up in A&E. I won't ever do that again.
I suppose you learn from experience,
Yes,
don't
you
you?
do. So there we are.
That's a wonderful sight though, Chris.
Yeah.
Thanks for showing me that.
Yeah, you're very, very spoilt. One of the miracles of nature.
So how grumpy are these going to get?
No, they're very happy at the moment.
No, but how long will it last?
They'll certainly last a week. If we just move round, that is the most perfect large swarm. Can you see?
Oh, wow.
That's
The tree is crawling with...
nearly 2 foot long, the swarm. The branch is so heavy with bees that it's actually starting to lean out from the tree, and the bottom of the swarm is nearly a foot across. That's one of the largest swarms I've ever seen. Honeybees, Apis melliflua, a stunning sight, and they're all in holiday mode.
I'm going to buzz off in a minute, I think. We've come up a couple of 100 yards and walking into one of Chris's fields here in the full roar of the sun as well. It's so hot today, isn't it?
Yes, the sun's almost at its highest today. We're not quite at the 21st of June yet, but very close now. So just amazing. So I brought you out into one of the overwinter wild bird seed mixers here at the farm, and it's done really well this year. The barley here is about to come into ear. There's spring wheat here as well. Nice mixture of sunflowers coming up. I can see some tall ones there already over a foot tall, and some lilac blue flowers scattered right the way through, which are just coming out into flower. And so there's a trick in doing this. As the main pollen and nectar fields die away in the heat of the summer sun, we now have a next crop of flowers coming in, which is sown this spring. And these are the annuals, and this is called Phacelia in front of us, and it's a really top nectar producer. So in another hour or so, there'll be bees on all of those plants that we can see in front of us. But there's also, because we don't use sprays on this crop, there's also a whole variety in the understory here that farmers like me, because I was one of them, used to absolutely hate. They've got interesting names, many of them, and they're quite scarce now, some of them. We're now standing almost in the middle of one of the patches of them, so I'm going to go down on my hands and knees as I usually do and just have a look, because there's some fabulous pink and white candy striped flowers here. And if you're a gardener, this is a nightmare, and if you're a farmer, it's an even bigger nightmare, because it produces long stems which actually curl round plants from this time of year onwards and reach right the top of the cereal stalk. They can go up a foot or even more, and they're just producing these long climbing stems now. They'll flower. Look at all the flowers down at the bottom here, about to come out. Just at my fingertip, there's 4 flowers about to open.
They are quite attractive, these, aren't they? Just an inch off the ground.
It is called a weed, this one. That's in its official name. It's called bindweed. Because it curls itself round in an anti-clockwise direction and climbs up plants. So if you're growing things like peas in your garden and you've got bindweed, then you'll be cussing and swearing, because it takes quite a lot of nutrients out of the soil. It's quite deep rooted. It can go down as far, it's astonishing, as 2 meters deep into the soil. That's over 6 feet down into the soil, and it produces rhizomes which are quite large and thick, and it's got spade-shaped leaves. Here's one here, just down. I can just nip that off, and you can see it just looks like a garden spade with 2 lobes at the bottom that you'd put your foot on to dig soil. But so it's a real problem weed, and there's several others here which are really interesting, and some of them are really quite aromatic here. And I'm just looking around to see if I can... here we are. It's just going to come into flower in about a fortnight's time. We're nice and early for this one. This is Mentha arvensis. Now,
Mentha, mint.
That's right. Yes. Now you get that, and you give it a good crush in between your fingers, and then smell.
Oh yeah.
And it's very, very aromatic, and it's really closely related to the spearmint, which you can grow in your garden as a herb. Hoverfly visiting the field bindweed. There we are, just going from flower to flower. So it's really interesting, and this one's even more interesting. It has a really beautiful flower. It's got spear-shaped leaves on it, kind of rough saw edges on the leaves, and it's called field woundwort, and it will come into flower in about a week to 10 days time. So once you get to July, that will be in full flower, and the flowers are really unusual. They hug the stalk, the main stem of the plant, all the way round in a circle, and you'll get these tiered layers of flowers, and the field mint will do that as well. Closely related to where we were earlier, down at the lake there's a species of mint grows right on the edge of the water, actually over the water itself, and that's Mentha aquatica, the water mint. So, and equally as aromatic as the field mint. So this is field woundwort, which I was describing, and it has the flowers arranged in a circle, and it's got a special name. It's called a whorl, W-H-O-R-L. So it's a lovely word, and it describes this circle of flowers around the central stem. So there we are, and a brilliant plant, which is also, any farmers listening to this, if it's on their mobile phone, they'll grab the mobile phone and throw it at the tractor cab window, I should think, because this is a real sort of bonus in the mixture. It's called fat hen. These are all big problem weeds from my early farming career. If you had them in your crop, particularly one like cleavers, which is also called sticky willy. I know. And so if you had that, again, it's another one which spirals up to the top of the cereals just as you're going to harvest them, and they're hugely problematic. You can't get the cleaver seed, which is round and hairy, and it behaves the same as cereal seed. So if you have it in your seed mixture, it's incredibly difficult to get it out. But this one, Fat Hen, produces vast amounts of seed. It's now coming into flower, but the flower is almost inconspicuous. You can see there's some sort of little greyish white flowers just coming out in the top of it. The underside of the leaves are kind of silvery grey, but it's the amount of seed and the nutrition in the seed. And remember, this isn't going to be harvested, this field, so the seed, if it's still in the plant, the birds can access it, but it also drops onto the ground, on the surface of the ground. And this is a 7-acre field. It's quite small, south facing, and all the way around the hedges, and that's just a bonus for birds like grey partridge. Absolutely love fat hen seed. Another one are the yellowhammers, and even birds like goldfinches will come out on the field and eat this seed as well. So everything, although we call them weeds, some of them, weed is just something growing out of context, really. But when you see this, and I will invite our dear photographer, Laura Cuffin, just to come and take a picture of this, because it just looks so attractive.
Well, it looks like someone's had a wedding here,
Yes.
a happy couple,
Yep.
And when they walk out of the church, confetti is thrown, pink
Yes.
and white confetti, and it's all scattered.
And this is what we're looking at, and there are thousands of them. There's a huge patch just a little bit further into the field, and just so attractive. Just pink and white all on one bloom. It's a funnel-shaped flower, and no words can do it justice, really, because it just speaks for itself.
Except it's bindweed.
Yes, it is. Just walk over here a little bit, Matthew, because you then get the full glory of it. It's stunning. There's 200 blooms in a square metre probably. We're looking down at the ground now. Just amazing sight. So there we are. A bit of a farming nightmare if you've got it in your crops. It's very embarrassing as well, because it will come up to the top of the cereal stems in about a month, 6 weeks time, just when you're thinking of getting the combine out. Now you know why farmers have red faces sometimes.
Question time, and Chris has found us a little bit of shade here, which is very thankful from my point of view, because it's very, very warm and heading towards lunchtime now. Suzanne K says, "Hi Chris, a quick question. Out on a walk early Saturday evening in Pouringland," which is probably a mile in that direction,
Yes.
isn't it? And we saw a couple of trees surrounded by what my partner called blind bees. Can you tell us, are they blind, or is this just a local name?
Well, it's a local name, of which there are lots and lots. They're not bees. It's very, very definitely a beetle, one of our largest beetles. And what happens at this time of the year, particularly in the evening, is the beetles take off, and they look absolutely colossal because they've got their wing cases. I think there was an old car species, was it the DeLorean, or where the doors sort of folded up and over, rather like gull wings.
That's right, yes, that was the ill-fated DeLorean sports car.
Yes, and this is what these bees do. They're rather like ladybirds, but 20 times bigger, so they're a good inch from front end to back end, and they lift these large wing cases up, and the wings are underneath, so it makes them look very large indeed, and they're rather cumbersome flyers, and they tend to fly into things, which gives them this sort of part of their nickname of blind bees. So they're beetles, and these are the adults that you're seeing. They're sort of chocolatey brown in colour. They've got very large and long feathery antennae out of the front. So what they're doing is looking for females, as well as we're standing underneath a row of oak trees here at the farm, and it's quite a regular sight just at sunset to look up through the canopy and see all these bees. They actually make quite a lot of noise as well when they're flying. These beetles, I should say.
Are they as noisy as the bees we saw earlier?
No, they're not. They're fairly quiet because they're usually single, but on particular days, particularly near a thunderstorm, you can have 100 or so flying round a particular oak tree. So it's the cockchafer beetle, and their grubs will have been in the ground. Eggs will have been laid 3 or even 4 years ago, and they will feed on cereal plants, particularly spring cereals. They will also feed on grass roots as well, right down in the soil. You can control them by ploughing them fairly early in the season when they're near the surface, but year on year the grubs grow. They're always shaped like the letter C. They're very large and white, and rooks love them. So they're also got another nickname called rookworms, so really unusual. And then once you get to the colder weather, one thing the grubs don't like is cold, and they will go down into the soil up to 1 metre deep. They dig themselves in, and then eventually they'll hibernate. And sort of once they've emerged, this is quite unusual, they emerge early on in the year that they're going to fly, and then they burrow themselves up to the surface, and in June and July the cockchafer beetle adults will take to the wing and fly round, and they'll often bump into car windows, the windscreens, and make quite a big splat noise, and you can hear those wing cases. So that's why they're called blind bees. It's a bit of a misnomer really, as they're beetles. The cockchafer beetle.
Not a beetle, not a bee, a beetle.
Yes, you got it.
Thank you, Suzanne. And on to PJ of Uddingston. Hello all at the farm. Another great podcast, and really enjoyed the discussion from Chris around removal of hedges. Glad he had the foresight to replant so many miles, if just for the habitat. Reminded me of the hedgerows on the farm or at a house years ago. They were mostly holly, hawthorn and beech. Was this common in Norfolk or specific to where I was in lowland Scotland?
Right, in Scotland they did use, if they weren't using dry stone walling up there, they would use holly because it's an evergreen, unlike hawthorn, which loses leaves, and it was a much more suitable plant, particularly with the beech. If you kept the beech cut as a hedge, it also retains its leaves, so it would be really good shelter, because most of the farming up there was livestock farming, so it would shelter your cattle if they were out on the pastures, and the more hardy breeds of sheep, things like the Swaledale sheep up there in the north of the country, very hardy, and on cold days when there's a blizzard blowing, the sheep would hug in either beside a dry stone wall or the holly hedge, and for shelter. So there we are. So slightly different here in Norfolk, and we don't do dry stone walling.
PJ says it's lush here at the moment. Blackbirds feeding on ivy berries. Wood pigeons wondering why they can't jump as high as the blackbirds to get the ripest of the berries. I'm still feeding with suet pellets. There's a new species called the hummingbird magpie, hummingbird crow and hummingbird collared dove who try to hover whilst pecking a couple of pellets. The songbirds still get a share. Keep up the good work, Chris.
Oh, thank you very much. Yes, it is quite amusing. Birds are quite intelligent in some ways. Well, they have kind of learned behaviour, just in the same way blue tits did in the 1940s and 50s with doorstep deliveries of milk. They learnt to take the foil tops off bottles, and the birds, particularly I've seen robins doing it, actually hovering whilst they try and peck seeds from seed feeders as well if the weather's harsh.
Any more questions, comments for future episodes of this Countryside podcast, please send them to Chris Skinner via email and the address chris@highashfarm.com. Can we go and find some proper shade now?
Yep, we can, yes. I recommend the local pub, yes.
Well, mine's the first round.
Right, OK, that'll be a first, yes.